This podcast was brought to you by Dragon Shield. Check out the affiliate link down below to help support the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Play to Win podcast. I'm Cam.
I'm Dylan.
And this week, I am still in vocal recovery here.
It sounds a little bit like Optimus Prime-ish, though. There are moments.
Actually, I'm just going to not include this bit then, because if I just sound like Optimus Prime, I think
it's good.
That's optimal Prime.
I think you should stick with this, honestly.
I hope this is just my new voice now, because if that's the case, I'm going to sound like a badass.
Definitely.
Nice. Awesome. Well, speaking of badass, we have a badass topic today.
Nice. I like that.
Today, we're going to do the Alpha set review. Now, if you're wondering if Alpha recently came out, technically, it's older than me.
Yeah, technically, no.
No. But I thought it would be fun if we just did like a whole fucking set review like we do for new sets for the cards in Alpha that see play in cEDH.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great idea. Now, normally when we do set reviews, we're talking about how we think the cards will do. We're speculating because the cards aren't out yet, but these cards are out. We know how good they are.
We know. So I thought we were just going to like pretend like these are brand new and like all of the other cards in Magic already exist. So like cEDH is a thing. Like we're not trying to start cEDH over from zero because there's no legendary creatures in the set.
When you say pretend, do you mean that I should go, oh, demonic tutor, what does this card do? Like that pretend?
Yeah, because I'm not saying that you have to like be a full fucking character or anything, but I think
that's how I would see a new card.
A
new card?
Every time a new spoiler comes out, Dylan puts on a top hat and his mustache twirls up.
Oh, fascinating.
What is this?
I'm not a great actor, I don't think, so I don't know if I'll be able to do all that, but we can try to evaluate the cards.
Disagree. I saw you on the Jank Lords episode, and you were fucking phenomenal, man.
Well, I need a director, though. Without a director, I'm nothing.
All right, well, I'll try to direct you as best as I can. I'm usually pretty bossy, so that seems like that can be done.
I'm into it.
All right, we're going to work our way backwards this time, and we're going to start with the lands. And we got a whole new cycle of lands to talk about, Dylan. They're better than any other land we've ever seen before.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely true. These are the best lands that exist in Magic.
These are the dual lands. I can't believe we haven't titled any lands the dual lands before. These lands are just like the shock lands, but there's no downside upon entering the battlefield.
Yeah, they're easily fetchable with all of the Zendikar lands that already exist.
Yep.
They come in untapped with no issue whatsoever.
Doesn't matter how many opponents you have, and it doesn't cost life to tap them for a certain color.
Yeah.
It's like we've been waiting for this for years.
Yeah, no, these would blow my fucking mind if I hadn't seen them and they were printed right now. Yeah, these are just the best lands that we have access to in cEDH.
They make 5-color decks great.
Yeah.
Thank God we have them. Oh, man.
Good new information we're delivering to people.
Yes, right. All right, so our next card then is Winter Orb.
Winter Orb is a card that...
I have to read it. Hold on, we don't know what this card does.
I feel like I have to talk about it in like the history of cEDH. Otherwise, it's just like...
You mean the future of cEDH?
Yes, I guess so.
All right, so Winter Orb is a 2 colorless artifact. Oh, you know what? I was about to read like the actual text on the card.
Oh, you should do that because it's printed in Alpha. Read it how the text on the card.
Yes, exactly. I have to make sure that I'm reading exactly what the card says. So Winter Orb is 2 mana for a continuous artifact. It says players can untap only 1 land each during untap phase.
Are you sure it said it like that?
Players can untap only 1 land each during untap phase. Creatures and artifacts are untapped as normal.
Okay, I'm glad the clarification is there because I was pretty confused.
I had no idea what this did either. Now, remember, the way that artifacts work is that if they're tapped, their ability doesn't happen.
Is that written on this card?
No.
So this is that's just part of the game at this point.
That's just how Alpha fucking worked.
Yeah, that's just how Magic worked at this point. There was no need for clarification because that's how artifacts worked. If they were tapped, they didn't work.
Whereas now, I'm waiting for clarification because at no point in any further printings does it clarify that until Ultimate Masters, Eternal Masters, where it says as long as Winter Orb is untapped.
Okay, to be honest, I kind of missed this part of artifacts. I feel like this was a good thing to have. Was it just too confusing? Do you think? Is that why it was removed?
Probably, right?
Just like unnecessarily confusing or something. To me, it makes perfect sense. When it's tapped, it can't block. It can't do its thing.
It means
like,
used. It's been
it
used.
It means used. Yeah. So I kind of I just especially like those old artifacts that are powerful that work that way. Decks like commanders like Urza and stuff being able to manipulate that is super cool.
There's also that new. Or that old green
we
red
can't
one?
keep this up. I can't do it. I can't. We gotta cut the charade. We gotta just talk about the cards.
We're just gonna talk about the cards then. Well, there is that new green red commander whose name begins with an M that also does the same thing as Urza, basically.
It's on the screen right now.
But that's really all that it does is just work with that. But otherwise, Winter Orb, very good sax piece in those decks, but not really something you want to play outside of like commanders that it works well with that can tap it.
I think so, yeah. If you can't break parity with it on your commander, I don't think you should play it. Stacks pieces are already pretty risky, and you really need to make sure that they work out in your favor. So if you can't do that consistently, don't bother.
The next card is called Time Vault. Have you seen this one in the spoilers? This is 2 mana for an artifact. Tap to gain an additional turn after the current one. Time Vault doesn't untap normally during untap phase. To untap it, you must skip a turn. Time Vault begins tapped.
How much different do you think cEDH would be if this card was not banned in Commander?
It would be so ubiquitous.
It's important to note that this card with one of the keys, Manifold Key and Voltaic Key.
Correct.
You can, with both of these 2 cards for 3 total mana-ish, you can take infinite turns, basically. Take turns for the rest of the game. This is a very popular strategy in Vintage. This is like one of the best things you can do in Vintage.
Especially because the keys work really well with your mana artifacts.
Right, so things like Grim Monolith and Mana Crypt, if you're playing those things, it can be extra broken. Within cEDH, we are playing those things, so it would be insane. I feel like this would be like way better than Thoracle Demonic Consultation.
Oh, I 100% agree that it would be the biggest problem of the format.
It would be the new best combo
because it's
in the
colorless.
format.
You just go Dark Ritual, and then you have the 2 pieces that you need out.
They're both artifacts. They're super like easy to find, and so it would go in every single deck. I think.
Yeah, I think it would be. Nobody would talk about Thassa's Oracle anymore because it would be clear that that's the problem.
Yeah, it is a cool card though. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Vintage is so cool because this like very like historically broken card still sees play in that format.
And when you read it, it's not really supposed to be broken because the next turn, then you skip a turn. Right. But you never gain the opportunity to skip a turn because you're always taking the turn after this one.
It's like the quintessential Magic combo. I think it's such an easy to explain A plus B. Yeah, it's great. If it was in cEDH, it would be the strongest thing to do in cEDH for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Speaking of strong things to do in cEDH, Soul Ring is 1 colorless mana, and it says add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. Tapping this artifact can be played as an interrupt. So just in case you were wondering, you can do that at instant speed.
Also, this is when the stack was different. The stack didn't exist, right? Only things that were interrupts could be, there was like an order of which you could play the spells or something.
I have no idea how pre-stack Magic worked.
I'm pretty sure there was like there was sorcery speed, there was instant speed, and then there was also interrupt speed, or maybe interrupt was I don't know. Either way, Soul Ring, we don't have to talk about why Soul Ring is good. I often have an argument with my friend Justin, which card is stronger in all of Magic, Soul Ring or Black Lotus, because I think they're very close in power level, and I always go back and forth and can never come to a strong answer. I think Soul Ring is as powerful as Black Lotus, basically.
Wow, that's funny. I totally disagree with you.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Soul Ring should be part of the Power 9 instead of TIMETWISTER, but I don't think it comes close to the...
You think Black Lotus is better?
The burst of mana that Black Lotus can give you lets you do things that Soul Ring will never let you do.
Yeah.
Soul Ring is great then when you untap with it later, but Black Lotus, you don't even have to untap. You're just winning that turn.
Yeah. You're probably right, honest. Black Lotus is Black Lotus, and I'm not going to like argue strongly that Soul Ring is better than it, but...
I know, because I am right. That's how...
I think it's close. That's all. I think it's close. Like Soul Ring is about as powerful. I realistically do think it's close. Especially like it depends on the format. Like I think if you're playing in like say like Vintage Cube or something like that, I think like Soul Ring gets a little bit better because it's not likely that your games are going to end on turn 1. Soul Ring will like make you more mana over the course of that.
That's a really good point too, especially when like your opponent has a humongous % chance to not have a soul ring too. Like in cube, it really skyrockets your win percentage.
Right, but I'm not a vintage cube expert. I'm not going to talk about that. Just Soul Ring is good. It's great in CEDH. We don't have to talk about it much more than that. I don't think. Spend too much time with it.
I mean, the next one we won't have to talk about a ton either. It's the Mox cycle.
Oh yeah.
Mox Emerald, for example, says add 1 green to your mana pool. Tapping this artifact can be played as an interrupt.
I wish these were playable in CEDH. Not playable. I mean, like not banned is what I mean. They're obviously insanely playable if they were allowed.
Honestly, I feel like they should be allowed.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, if we're right, why not? If we're gonna be able to play like all these other great artifacts, that are free and can make mana, we might as well be able to play these, right?
I guess the cost aspect of it would be kind of frustrating for a lot of people.
Yeah, but we're proxying anyway.
Yeah.
And then this would be another prize. Instead of having to give out time twisters as prizes, you can give out cards that people actually want to play instead of sell.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I of course wish there were more reason. I want to play the Mox, obviously. Like I would love to so much. And to be honest, I'm not sure how much it would drastically change the format. I mean, it's just one card. It's just one extra piece of ramp. 5 color decks would profit quite a lot.
It's not. Yeah, that's the thing. Like some decks gain access to 4 of them, and like, you just get to cut more lands, and you have 20 land Thrasios decks.
Yeah, it would.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
I definitely think it would be more and more difficult. It would be very difficult to not want to play 4 and 5 color decks when you had access to 4 Moxes versus 2 Moxes. I think that's kind of a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's already pretty hard to not want to play 4 or 5 color decks, so it just really exacerbates the problem.
But yeah, they would be they would be like the strongest artifacts in the format.
Yeah, hands down.
Besides Soul Ring, maybe.
Besides, yeah, probably. Or maybe some other cards that we'll talk about soon.
Okay.
Our next card is Mana Vault. This card, oh my God, hold up. Give me a
what's
second.
the original text on this? Give it to us.
All right, it says, tap to add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. Mana Vault doesn't untap normally during untap phase. To untap it, you must pay 4 mana. If Mana Vault remains tapped during your upkeep, it does 1 damage to you. Tapping this artifact can be played as an interrupt. So this doesn't really have the beginning of the upkeep trigger here.
Right.
On the original wording. It makes it sound like you can untap 4 mana at any time, and if it just so happens to be untapped on your upkeep, you lose life.
Did we have an upkeep in the beginning? Was there always an upkeep?
I'm pretty sure there was always an upkeep.
There's been an upkeep from the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, and now, like, this wording makes it a lot more powerful, in my opinion, because currently you have to, like, basically take your turn off to untap the Mana Vault, whereas at this point, instead of that, you can hold up your mana, and if you don't end up casting your counterspell, then you'd be able to put your mana into it.
Yeah, like how Grim Monolith works.
So they totally powered down Mana Vault since then, and that sucks.
Yeah, fuck them. When do you play Mana Vault in CEDH? Like, what's the requirement in your head?
If I'm playing Ad Nauseam, or if my commander costs 5 mana.
Yeah, what if your commander costs 5 mana, but it's 3 color pips and 2 generic?
That's when I like it.
It's
when
still okay.
3 color pips and 2 generic. If it's more color pips, then I don't like it.
Sure, okay. So if it's, all right, so if it was 5 mana, but 4 of that was pip, no.
Correct, yes. If it was Wooburg, I hate it.
Not good at all. I'm basically with you there. If I need to cast Ad Nauseam, or if my commander, I really like my commander to require the 3 generic before I take it, but there are some, like Corvolt, I would still play it. There are, Corvolt, I'm playing Ad Nauseam, so it double laps, but if it was just 2 generic, I think I probably still would. The effect is just, even Rite of Flame is strong, which is, you know what I mean? Like one mana to make 2 mana, it can still be powerful. Mana Vault is great. I love this card.
I mean, if you play like Smothering Tithe in your deck, that makes you want to play it more too. So like if you just, even outside of your commander, if you just have like 3 to 5 mana, very impactful draw or advantage engines, fucking do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. If you play Dark Ritual, I also think like this is kind of in the same boat. And it also can turbo out your mana rock sometimes too.
I guess it's true. If you want a ritual, like this is a ritual. It's the epitome of a ritual.
Yeah, I love Mana Vault. And then even bonus if you have like artifact strategies or Seedborn Muse strategies.
Ooh, yeah.
Extra great stuff if you can untap it for some other way.
Yeah. Here's a card, Black Lotus. Have you ever heard of this card?
Strongest card in all of Magic.
Yes,
It's stronger than Soul Ring. It is. I know it's stronger than Soul Ring, but it's close. I think it's close.
I think it's probably really close. It's probably a lot closer than I think it is, but it definitely sways to Black Lotus.
Yeah, I play this Black Lotus in my vintage Hogak deck. I think every vintage deck plays it.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
play
the
this
fucking
in
best
every
thing
vintage
ever.
deck I've ever played. Yeah.
Any format that you can play Black Lotus in, it's the best card to play.
It adds 3 mana of any single color of your choice to your mana pool, then is discarded.
I love how when it was just discarded, but even though that meant sacrificed.
It's so funny how text has changed.
Do you think that you will ever own a Black Lotus?
Do I think I will ever own a Black Lotus? That is probably the coolest question you've ever asked me on the podcast.
Yeah, give it to me.
No.
No. We're being honest here.
No.
No.
I don't even know if it's like a monetary thing or if it's just like I'll fall out of Magic by the time I can afford one.
Yeah.
I don't know at one point the investment stops being an investment and I just finally admit that it's been just for me the whole time.
Yeah. In the back of your head, you're like, it'll be a down payment for a house one day. When you really, like, no, I'm going to hoard these things until they're worth
have
pennies.
a separate down payment for the house and then like still keep my Magic cards.
Yeah, I don't think that I would ever own it either. And if I was ever gifted it somehow, I would probably just sell it right away. They're worth a lot of money.
I wouldn't tell the guy who gave it to me that I'm selling it either.
No, I don't think I would either.
No, I would feel bad. Like, whoever is gifting you a Black Lotus loves you so much.
I know, you kind of can't get rid of it, right?
You kind of can't, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, if you're out there and you don't know what to do with your money, Basalt Monolith is a card we've seen a ton on Play to Win. This is a 3-mana mono artifact that taps to add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. Period. Does not untap as normal during untap phase, comma, but can be untapped at any time for 3 mana. That's not a complete sentence.
Did you say mono artifact?
It is a mono artifact.
Really?
Yes.
I never noticed that it said mono artifact.
Yes.
What
it's
is mono
one
artifact?
So mono means one or
Right.
sick, remember?
Yeah. Of course. What was the other option? Was it
Poly artifact.
Was that a real archetype?
Which means 2
No. You're lying.
or 3 or more. Yeah, no, there were poly artifacts that were continuous artifacts.
Is that real? Do I not know this about Magic history? Oh, I feel like such a child. I'm learning something new. Is this real? Poly artifacts. So like Winter Orb,
So Winter Orb was a continuous artifact.
which is poly? Or it said continuous artifact.
Give me a second here. I just pulled up the wiki. Okay. So the obsolete terms are the exact ones that we just said. Mono artifact, which is an obsolete term that appeared on artifacts with activated abilities that cause the artifact to become tapped as a cost.
Okay.
That's where mono comes in. You tap it to use it once,
I see. Okay.
and then something has to untap it.
Oh, okay.
Poly artifacts were artifacts with activated abilities that didn't cause the artifact to be tapped. So like something that you put mana into to get an ability.
I
something
never
like
knew
that.
this. That's
Yeah.
nuts. Okay.
You should listen to Mark Rosewater's podcast. There's like some really good shit in there.
Yeah.
And then continuous artifacts is like Winter Orb, just cards that have static text on them.
Got it. Continuous artifacts are called.
Yes.
Okay. And it was those 3 artifact types.
Those were the 3 original artifact types that they had. Yeah.
And now all of those would just be artifacts.
they just say artifact
They're
on
all
them. Yeah.
they're all artifact. You don't clarify based off of how you activate.
No, but you have like subcategories of
Right.
artifacts.
It's
still.
interesting that there's like equipments and vehicles now that weirdly seem like they're like kind of the same as that. So it's kind of strange that they got rid of it and then brought
right.
brought
It's just
something back in a different way.
It's a type of artifact that abides by these specific rules.
Specific rules, yeah.
It's kind of funny, yeah. All right, Wild. We're gonna move into green, and Wild Growth is our first card that we're gonna talk about here.
How is this one worded? Like trash, I think, right?
When tapped, target land provides 1 green mana in addition to the mana it normally provides. It still says enchant land on it, but that's just when tapped is just a funny way to say this.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I own a beta copy of this, which I cherish very much. This card's awesome. I wish it saw a little bit more play in cEDH. I feel like it used to, but green's fallen out of favor a touch. Green hasn't gotten a ton of new cards recently, and therefore it's kind of fallen behind in power level. And this is, I think, one of the stronger cards in green.
Honestly, it's technically better than any mana dork that you would play, because mana dorks are now susceptible to Orcish Bowmaster and other creature removal, and this is a way to get green mana with haste, essentially. Quote unquote haste is what I'm doing here.
If you can enchant a land that hasn't been tapped yet, it basically pays for itself if you can use the 2 mana right away on it.
So it's free in that scenario, basically.
There's nothing else that has that same rate. The only thing that's similar is like a Springleaf Drum or something like that. That's a 1 mana to tap for a mana. That you can do it right away. So it's kind of uniquely in its own power level with Utopia Sprawl. I think they're the only 2 cards that kind of do that on a land.
I mean, they're not good enough to add Arbor Elf to your deck, which is really what makes these cards pop off more.
I definitely used to do. I feel like we definitely used to do that. If you had like both of those, you'd play the Arbor Elf too.
Yeah,
but not anymore.
That just like never comes up.
It doesn't
anymore.
come up enough.
Yeah, and now Arbor Elf is exceptionally bad. Speaking of elves, though, the LLANOWAR elf is in this original set too. This says tap to add 1 green mana to your mana pool. This ability can be played as an interrupt.
I love that this is LLANOWAR elves. It's plural. And why is that? It just
has 1 elf
it's
on
just,
it.
Yeah, like, why is that? It's just 1 elf.
It is very dumb, yeah.
Card's great. Issue with Bowmaster.
That's just kind of the scenario right now, yeah.
The next one's better.
Definitely, yeah. FASTBOND.
Oh, sure.
That's the next one.
Bandit Commander? Or no, not Bandit Commander, just not good?
This card it has to be Bandit Commander.
Yeah,
this card,
it's gotta be.
If Burgeoning and Exploration are nuts and lands decks, could you imagine playing FASTBOND like in your casual AC deck?
Wait, can you double check?
It says Commander Band right in front of me.
All right, good.
Yeah. So FASTBOND, for those of you who don't know, because it is banned in Commander, this is 1 green for an enchantment that says you may put as many lands into play as you want each turn. That's the original text. As many lands as you want. And then it says FASTBOND deals 1 damage to you for every land beyond the first you played in a single turn.
Who cares?
Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit?
I'll take 6 damage real quick, running a ton of lands. Now I have Crown. I don't know.
At first glance, you think it's really good with Ad Nauseam. And then at second glance, you're like, maybe it's not so good with Ad Nauseam. And then on third glance, I think you realize that it is quite good with Ad Nauseam. Because now instead of having to Naz for 30, you can just Naz for like 15. And because you have like 6 or 7 untapped lands maybe out of that, you don't have to go quite as deep to find the fast mana because you have the mana to cast the spells. Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about that because I think of it as in like my opening hand when I have like it's fine there. But like we talk about with like Exploration and Burgeoning, like you don't play a lot of lands. So when your openers max out at 1 or 2, like you get that burst of mana real quick up front. But unlike Sol Ring, you're not untapping with extra mana that you weren't going to have without it.
Yeah, unless you can put in like more than 3, or you know what I mean? Like if you can put in a bunch. And it's great with things like wheels, things that are giving you access to a flurry of cards all at one time.
That's a good point too. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Even on turn 1, you play like another card, and then like on your next turn, you wheel, and then you draw a bunch, and you get to still ramp out. Yeah, that is still really good.
Yeah, it would be pretty good with wheels. It would be, yeah, no wonder it's banned. In Commander, it would definitely be one of the stronger things to be doing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It would give green a real big boost that it needs right now.
I guess that's true. Maybe we should be unbanning FASTBOND. So the next one is Channel.
Also banned in Commander.
Also banned in Commander, yeah. This says for 2 green, it's a sorcery that says until end of turn, you may add colorless mana to your mana pool for 1 life each. These additions are the fuck. It's so dark. These additions are played with the speed of an interrupt.
With the speed of an interrupt?
It sounds like it's from a Monty Python sketch.
They were probably watching Monty Python when they were writing this shit.
And with the speed of an interrupt, I will add 1 mana to my mana pool for the cost of 1 life.
Dude, we gotta start talking like that when we play.
We do. Also, life spent this way is not considered damage.
Interesting.
Talk about a sentence that would blow my mind if this just came out like that. What do you mean it's not considered damage?
Well, it's life loss. You're paying life.
Well, is that like a known separation in Alpha? If this was in the first pack that I cracked, I would be like, what is happening?
This is bullshit.
I hate this game already.
I mean, in cEDH, this would be even more busted than this is in 60 card. You have 40 life. You could do so much with this card. It would be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, you think Ad Nauseam's good now?
Yeah, gaining access to... I mean, what's the red one? That is a way worse version of this. The creature in Godot.
Dockside Extortionist.
Nope. 4 mana.
Oh, you mean Treasonous Ogre.
Treasonous Ogre. Treasonous Ogre is still close to playable at a much, much worse rate than Channel. But yeah, Channel is like one of the first combo decks ever. Historically broken Magic cards.
Channel Fireball, yeah. Now you owe us money, guys. All right, so Birds of Paradise is our next card. Very iconic card. For 1 green, it says Summon Mana Birds, which I love. It also says Flying / tap to add 1 mana to your mana pool. And then the same fucking interrupt clause that's on everything.
This is probably one of the last few remaining good green cards in CEDH.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Green sucks in CEDH right now, and Birds of Paradise is like the only 1 toughness mana dork that I would even consider playing and still cut.
Yeah, the mana fixing is just still so great. But
yeah, you can't deny that. Everyone knows why Birds is good. Here is a good card. We're moving on to red now, and Wheel of Fortune is the first card we're going to talk about. They finally upgraded Wheel of Misfortune.
Thank God. Took them long enough. What was that card? That card sucked. This one's way better.
I'm going back to the old bit. For 2 and a red, both players... That's funny.
Both
players must discard their hands and draw 7 new cards.
If this was how it was like written, if this was just you and target player do this, we would be way worse. Or way better? I don't know.
Honestly, it would be way better, right?
It would be better, I think.
I feel like the wheel isn't good for like the wheel payoffs and stuff, like because of Orcish Bowmaster or because of something else. Like I feel like it's great in like a storm setting, and like if that phrasing, I think, would open it up to being played in more decks than it currently is and feeling good in more decks.
I think so, yeah. If you could target wheel 1 player and like not wheel another player, like if the player mulligan to 2 and you're like, I don't want you to wheel, but I want you who just demonic tutor last turn, I want you to wheel.
I want the non-blue deck to wheel so that I can win the game and not feel bad about just giving them the counterspell that stopped me.
Yeah, that would be really good. Wheel of Fortune, I think, is a card that has lost a little bit of oomph for me, but I do think it's very powerful in decks that are all about wheeling. I think Rogsai is a deck like this that plays 4 wheels and is trying to actively wheel a bunch. If you're all in on that strategy, I think wheels are still really good.
I'm popping a lozenge. I didn't think that would be so loud.
Are you opening candy under the table?
It's a lozenge. I'm popping a lozenge.
Very unprofessional.
I didn't think it would be so loud.
Wheel of Fortune is a great card, and wheels can be good in CDH, but are sometimes a trap.
Our next card is Red Elemental Blast. This is a red mana that says counters a blue spell being cast or destroys a blue card in play. That's funny because that answers the question, what does this card do?
I love the phrasing. Yeah, it was different then. It was just like, what does it do?
Counters a blue spell being cast.
Yeah, it answers a question. I think it's a great card. I play it all the time. I love it that it can kill Ristic Study and Mystic Remora. Finally, we have an answer for those cards.
I know. I've actually been more okay with like wanting to use this card in those scenarios as opposed to like saving it for protection for my combo, just because a lot of times what is winning people the games is their card advantage engine.
Yeah.
So just kill it if you have the opportunity.
Especially if you can kill it while paying for it as well, like paying for the Ristic Study or something like that. Especially in tournaments. I like these cards a lot more in tournaments just because you'll see a lot more blue decks because blue is better.
It's the best color.
So it's just the best color. And in tournaments, you'll just see a lot more blue. So this card's dead a lot less.
And blue got a lot of upgrades in this set. So we'll talk about them in a second.
All right.
But we're going to keep talking about red. We have to talk about Lightning Bolt. This is an instant that says Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage to 1 target.
Wait, so this in Lightning Bolt, it references Lightning Bolt, but in Red Elemental Blast, it doesn't reference.
It answers a question in Red Elemental Blast, but this card doesn't.
It says what it does.
It's a complete sentence. Name. Yeah.
Why was that not the same? That's weird.
That is weird, right?
Yeah.
Because does that mean that I'm the one countering the spell or destroying the blue permanent instead of the red blast? And in this case, I'm not the one dealing 3 damage. The Lightning Bolt is?
I think when you cast Red Elemental Blast, the card that you cast destroys the blue permanent. But when you cast Lightning Bolt, it creates a Lightning Bolt, and that Lightning Bolt does 3 damage to something.
You could not have made more sense to me. So thank you. That's perfect. Okay.
The only time that I play Lightning Bolt in cEDH right now is when I can loop it. If I'm playing a way to make infinite mana and an Eternal Witness and a Noxious Revival, or some way to loop through my deck by drawing cards and Lightning Bolt someone in the face, and then I cast Eternal Witness, and maybe within a meal I flicker the Eternal Witness to get the Lightning Bolt back after I have infinite mana, can shoot everyone there. I like it then. It's a fine piece of removal, but on its own as a removal, I don't love it just because there are things that it doesn't hit, which sucks.
I agree with you 100% when I'm playing a blue deck.
Yeah.
But if I'm playing a non-blue deck, I'm much more interested in this because, like, if it's Rocco, I fall really hard to certain creature stacks pieces, and if I don't have bounce spells to get rid of them, I want more doors to get rid of stacks creatures.
Yeah, it's definitely a card that I think we should see more play, honestly, in cEDH, which is kind of funny to say. Like, Lightning Bolt is one of the most iconic red cards of all time. It's fallen out of favor a little bit recently, but I want to start playing it a little bit more.
Permanent removal is really good.
Yeah, any type of removal, I want more access to it.
Sacrifice is our next card as we push into the black cards now. I legitimately didn't know this card was an alpha when I looked up the list. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, this card slaps.
This card is super cool. Yeah, it says destroy one of your creatures without regenerating it and add to your mana pool a number of black mana equal to creatures casting cost.
Creatures casting cost.
By the way, there's plenty of space to like fit in the extra words that they left out of this card.
What's with the inconsistencies?
I really don't know.
This is a great card with Dargo. I love it in ways that you can cheat on mana cost for your commanders.
Finally, a way to break Dargo.
Finally. Stuff like Tasigur even. I think this is great in Tasigur.
Anala. It's another great combo piece in the Anala line as well.
Yeah, it's just another ritual. It's a cool name and cool art also, which is very helpful.
Yeah, that art is badass. Speaking of badass art, we're going to move on to Demonic Tutor.
With this on top, with this on him, on the background, the pentagram.
He has the pentagram on him. Is that what you were doing?
That's the pentagram.
I see it now.
You see it now?
We're going to get demonetized as fuck.
Demonetized.
Huh? Yeah. I did that intentionally. This card is 1 and a black for a sorcery. You may search your library for one card and take it into your hand. Reshuffle your library afterwards. Yeah, you take it.
Take it. You take it into your hand. Does it say into your hand?
It says take it into your hand.
Yeah. And then reshuffle afterwards.
Yeah. So that means shuffle.
That means you're supposed to shuffle first, then find it, and then reshuffle.
That is what that means, because you do have to. It's implied that you're supposed to shuffle your library first.
Demonic Tutor is cool in cEDH because oftentimes Demonic Tutor is just a 1-card combo, especially if your deck can be set up with Underworld Breach lines. If you use Demonic Tutor for Underworld Breach and then use the Underworld Breach to cast the Demonic Tutor from your graveyard to find Lion's Eye Diamond and use it again to cast find the Brain Freeze. You can also have it find any of your 1-card win conditions. If you're playing Tivit and you have Time Sieve, if you're playing Nagila and you want to find Derevi.
Again, that's just a 1-card win condition then.
Demonic Tutor just does it all.
It's the second copy of literally every card in your deck, and it's perfect.
I would never not play it in a black deck.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I could be playing against an opponent with Opposition Agent in the command zone, and I would put it in my deck.
Yeah, I still think it's worth it. In our format, just the way that it's set up, it's all about advantage. It's not so much about board presence. So spending 2 mana on no board presence is totally fine because you get whatever the fuck you want. And the ceiling of power level in the format is so high.
And some tutors make you reveal what you get, but the ability to leave that information secret is super powerful too.
Definitely. Yeah, good point.
Dark Ritual is our next black card. It's a 1 mana interrupt, and it says add 3 black to your mana pool. That's good. Moving on.
I like Dark Ritual.
Me too. Animate Dead is next.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good luck.
Christ almighty. Yeah.
This is right. You thought of this idea. This is all you.
I did. Yeah. I'm having fun though. Okay. This is 1 and a black for an enchant dead creature.
I like that wording. Let's go back to that.
I think we should. Any creature in either player's graveyard comes into play on your side with -1 to its original power. If this enchantment is removed or at the end of the game, target creature is returned to its owner's graveyard. This is so you couldn't steal your buddy's good creature.
Oh, dude, I wish it worked like that. Animate that their thing, and that's just your thing now.
That's my. Hey, Auntie was in the game originally,
Yeah.
so I guess
That's a fair clarification.
It is a fair clarification, yeah. Target creature may be killed as normal. Again, you're enchanting a dead creature, so you want to make sure people know it's not a zombie.
Yeah, like it can die. That's that for the flavorful. I like that to clarify that it can die.
Doomblade still hits it.
Yeah, well, sometimes. World Gorger Dragon. That's the first thing that comes to mind for CDH is loops with World Gorger Dragon.
Now I think about it more with like specific lines with Hordling Broodlord and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you're reanimating something in CDH or in Legacy, this has historically just forever been the best rate. 2 mana to do this. Besides actual reanimate, 2 mana is the cheapest that we kind of get this effect. So any version of it is good. Animate Dead is kind of one of the more simpler ones. The only issue that I have with it is that the Animate Dead itself is susceptible to things like Abrupt Decay. But in CDH, the fact that like that lining up is so rare. Do you know what I mean? Like if you Animate Dead a Hordling Broodlord, the Abrupt Decay can't kill the Broodlord, but it can kill the Animate Dead, which would still kill the Broodlord. But that doesn't come up very often.
No, that's one card, yeah. Do you want to talk about some blue cards?
I would love to.
TWIDDLE's our first blue card. This card reads really bad, but I think that that mono blue deck would want this. What's the name of that fucking
that fucking
Orvald?
Orvald.
No.
Orval. Ovaltine.
Yes, that's what it is. Ovaltine. Ovaltine really wants this.
Yeah.
For 1 blue, it's an instant. It says caster may tap or untap any 1 land, creature, or artifact in play. So now your mono artifacts, you can untap them.
Wow. Really unique stuff. I would have loved this effect if I was like opening packs of alpha at the time and didn't know that this existed, and like I had all my artifacts that stayed tapped and I could untap them with Twiddle. I would have felt I was a genius.
Big brain, yeah.
If I did this, yeah.
But really, that's really the only that's the only reason why this is here, is because Orvar might play it, yeah. Time Twister's our next card.
Wheel of Fortune's good. This one's good too.
Yeah, it's for 2 and a blue. Set Time Twister aside in a new graveyard pile. Shuffle your hand, library, and graveyard together into a new library and draw a new hand of 7 cards, leaving all cards in play where they are. Opponent must do the same.
Opponent?
Yes, opponent must do the same.
It just like talk like a caveman. They don't say.
Also, ditto for you too, man.
It just says opponent must do the same.
It's literally a semicolon and then opponent must do the same.
That's great.
Yeah, the wording on these
They've
is
made
amazing.
it as confusing as possible. But at the time, yeah, what did you have to work with?
Honestly, I'm less confused because this lets me know that Time Twister is supposed to stay in my graveyard.
Yeah. Which is confusing that you kind of like exile it, do this time twistering, and then you put it into your graveyard. That is strange.
But it makes sense because technically Time Twister is resolving while all of that's going on. So it shouldn't be in your graveyard until it's finished resolving.
I like Time Twister when I'm playing a bunch of wheels or when I'm looping Time Twister with things like Swan Song and Lightning Bolt or something like that.
I like Time Twister when I win 2 cEDH tournaments in a row.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get 2 of them.
Congrats.
Congratulations, Ian. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
That's fucking insane. Yeah, winning that. Yeah, that's obvious. Yeah, that's fucking nuts. Great job.
All right, Time Walk. Do you want to talk about a card that's busted?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is 1 in a blue for a sorcery that says take an extra turn after this one. You know, this is the same wording today as it is from 93.
They didn't change it at all.
Not change. Don't mess with fucking perfection, man.
That one worked, yeah.
Yeah.
2 mana is the cheapest rate this ever was. If this was playable on CDH, every blue deck would play it.
Totally, yeah. I mean, just look to no ban list cEDH. All those blue decks play that.
Another good reason to play Vintage. You can play this one in Vintage.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I love that card. Here's a card that doesn't see a ton of play in cEDH, but some decks like it. This is Stasis.
Stasis is another one. Oh, Winter Orb. You say what it is.
Yeah, it's 1 in a blue for an enchantment. Players do not get an untap phase. Pay blue during upkeep or Stasis is destroyed. So they definitely did have an upkeep step.
There was definitely an upkeep step. Yeah. Wait.
It says pay blue during your upkeep or Stasis is destroyed.
Excellent. Confirmed. There was an upkeep.
Yes.
Stasis, like Winter Orb, if your commander can break parry on it, great, you should do it. Otherwise, maybe not.
I have Counterspell on this list. Should this even be on the list?
I don't play Counterspell anymore. I play Mana Drain and Delay before I would play Counterspell, and I don't know right now that there's many decks I'm looking for a third 2 mana unconditional Counterspell.
It would be Counterspell, but I don't know what
It
deck
would be
that
Counterspell,
yeah.
right? There isn't another one that's
Arcane
better.
Denial sucks. Guys, please stop saying that Arcane Denial is a good Counterspell. It sucks. Stop giving your opponents so many cards.
But actually, if you do the math between the card disadvantage that you're giving your other... No, I think so too. Yeah,
Shut
no,
the
I think
fuck up.
I think the card sucks too.
Copy Artifact is an enchantment for 1 and a blue that says select any artifact in play.
Select it.
Select it, yes, not target it, so it gets around hexproof. This enchantment acts as a duplicate of that artifact, semicolon. Enchantment copy is affected by cards that affect either enchantments or artifacts. Enchantment copy remains even if original artifact is destroyed. It's very confusing because the card is called Copy Artifact, but it keeps saying Enchant Copy, and it makes me think like enchantments are involved somehow.
Enchantments are not involved, and it is not an artifact.
It is the enchantment.
It enchants an artifact. It's not an artifact.
No, it is.
It's an artifact?
Yeah, it's enchantment copy is affected by cards that affect either enchantments or artifacts.
Yeah, because
Whoa, that's so stupid. Is that how it works now too?
No, what do you mean? It
Except it's an enchantment in addition to its other types. I didn't know that was a line on this card.
that it makes the artifacts an enchantment?
I had no, it's never come up for me.
I don't think that I knew that either.
Because
that
it's
what
always like for Dockside, it doesn't count as 2, right?
Is that the Oracle? No, it wouldn't count as
The
2.
actual text on it says, except it's an enchantment in addition to its other types.
What does the Oracle say on it?
Enchantment copy is affected by all cards that affect either enchantments or artifacts.
Interesting.
So it basically makes it both.
I didn't know that.
But the card type is just enchantment.
Right.
That's stupid. Moving on. BRAINGEYSER is not playing cEDH anymore because old cards like Stroke of Genius are just better.
Yeah,
So should we move on?
I think so.
Here's a card that seems really bad. Blue Elemental Blast.
Yeah, I agree. This card's bad.
Yeah, this is a blue for an interrupt. It counters a red spell being cast or destroys a red spell in play.
Does it say it like that?
It says it just like that.
Is it worded like the Red Elemental Blast?
Yes, it is.
It's worded the same way. Okay.
Same way. Answers the question.
Answers the question.
Why this is bad is because there are only 3 to 7 cards that come up in tournaments that this actually deals with. And 100% of the time, Force of Will also deals with those things. So just focus in on good, more broad counterspells instead of like one singleton answers, because that's how you lose games, is by having the wrong card in your hand at the wrong time.
I would much rather have Mana Drain than this, even with the extra mana cost. This is just too narrow, I think. Even though it hits powerful things, doesn't hit a lot of things. You want your spells to be active all the time, not specifically very powerful and then never good ever besides that time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Ancestral Recall is the final blue card we're going to talk about. This is a blue. It says draw 3 cards or force opponent to draw 3 cards.
Important aspect of it.
It is, yeah, because now it says target player, which means that it can be deflecting swatted.
Oh, interesting. That would make it kind of interesting in cEDH, but still every blue deck would play it.
Every blue, it's an unmulliganer, right? Like, it's technically a cantrip in cEDH because you're just drawing 1 card for each opponent.
It's what a good cantrip would look like in cEDH.
It really should be unbanning commander for that reason.
Yeah, I think you're totally right about that.
And it makes, again, mulliganing look so much better because you just go from 4 cards back up to 7. So you essentially unmulligan yourself.
It's a very powerful.
But I would love to deflecting swat this and just like for free draw 3. Yeah. That sounds so good.
I think that's funny that it would actually, like, there's fun, interesting play with it in the format if it was to be unbanned.
We should unban it.
We should not unban it. I don't think anything should be unbanned or banned. Format's great.
The format should stay the same as it is. Yes, don't touch it.
We're speaking in jest when we talk of banning these cards because they are banned.
Swords to Plowshares is the first white card that we'll talk about. Swords to Plowshares is a white mana instant that says target creature is removed from the game entirely.
Gone.
Return to opponent's deck only when the game is over. Creature's controller gains life points equal to creature's power.
Why do they talk like cavemen, I feel like? This card, I think, is an auto include in white decks right now. I think it maybe wasn't always, but right now every white deck I want to play swords.
Yeah, me too. I mean, creatures are just becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
And if you need a way to deal with Orcish Bowmaster, like this is the perfect way to do it. Gets it out of the game, can't be brought back with anything like a regrowth effect. So,
and it's the best rate. Like it's better than Path to. Well, you know what? To be honest, I have been playing Path to Exile sometimes over this card, but I think I should be playing both. There are a lot of times where Path to Exile just straight up does it. There are no basics in their deck, and it just doesn't. There's no downside.
Yeah, especially in tournament settings, there's a lot less monocolor decks that are coming up, and even like 2-color decks. If you're playing tainted packs, like you have a little bit more of a greedy mana base a lot of the time. So I can see how Path to Exile is just generally a little bit better, but even still, if you're trying to win with like Thoracle Demonic Consultation, who cares about the life? Why even mitigate the potential for someone to have a basic?
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
We have one last card we're going to talk about.
We're there. We're at the end.
We're at the end here, yeah.
Of the probably one of the most powerful sets of all time, which is kind of funny. We always talk about power creep, and yet this set is like remains. I mean, there are some of the weakest cards of all time in this set. Also,
that's also true. Yeah, but it's sandwiched really. Yeah. You have like the best, the worst, and the best. Then balance is the next card. Yeah, we kind of saved the best for last, actually.
Yeah, read this nightmare of a
for
card.
For 1 in a white sorcery, it says, whichever player has more lands in play must discard enough lands of his or her choice to equalize the number of lands both players have in play.
It says equalize?
Yes, it says equalize. Did you get that whole thing?
Okay, yeah.
Because then it says, cards in hand and creatures in play must be equalized the same way. Creatures lost in this manner may not be regenerated. Extra nail in the coffin right there.
I love it. No regeneration.
I fucking love this card.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish this card was unbanned in Commander for CEDH purposes. It would be a nightmare. I understand that. But I mean, when I say I wish, I don't really mean that. I don't actually think they should be unbanned. But if I had my magic wish of choosing one card that I just really want to play with, balance is that card.
What makes it great too is that it doesn't affect artifacts in play. So what made this really good was like your opponents had no artifacts in play, but you did.
If you could break parity on this card, it was devastating.
But I think that would make this even better in casual than it would be in cEDH.
The damage for casual would just be way too much, I think. Yeah, it would just destroy a lot of games. Talk about like it's the typical I think there's some issues people have with farewell type cards. Balance is 1,000 times more powerful than farewell.
Do we want to talk about that?
Farewell is fine.
Farewell's totally fine.
Thanks so much for watching.
What cards in Alpha did we miss?
This card's Sarah Angel. What the? This is the strongest creature out of the whole set.
It's the size of a crown. Oh my god.
Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Mark Cirillo, Zachary Nelson, She Doesn't Even Go Here, Joey Aarons, SoCal Acura, Stormageddon, Cool Bean Man, Luke Cook, AJ Alwosabi, Demon of Raz Grease, Khawaja A. Hamid, Lauren Connell, and Baby G-Bus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, like this fucking awesome Jack and Jill shirt, you can do that at the link down below.
Speaking of awesome, make sure you go thank Dragon Shield for supporting the show by using our affiliate link down below to pick up all of your Dragon Shield need products.
You can follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram for more content.
Thank you for watching and listening.
See you next time.
Dalton Poteet, Kadonis, Lutri's dad, Justin, Man Solo, Malette, Pedro, Jacob Depp, Michael Ballou, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, Swampy McGee, David Nelson.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, let me pull my skin on. Just get rid of the double chin by doing this.
Hey, boss. We found this guy out in the yard listening in.
Unique New York. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel, baby.
Your scar looks pretty badass.
I know, right? It looks a lot better than it did the other day.